Good evening, folks. We're going to call the Development Review Board for February 12th to order. We're going to do a roll call. All members present except Alan Couch. We're going to open a new public hearing for the Keyland Group LLC. If you want to go ahead for us, Jared.
This application is number 083-88-CU, amendment number 6. Property owner is the Keyland Group LLC, and the application is for a covered dining patio with outdoor seating at the soon-to-be Blue Duck Deli. Hearing date today is February 12th, 2024, 6 p.m. Public postings were in the town clerk's office, town hall bulletin boards, post office, and town website on January 23rd, 2024, and in the Vermont Journal on January 24th, 2024, and the abutting property owners were notified on January 23rd, 2024. And that's it.
Thank you, Jared. Is there someone to speak on behalf of this case tonight? So we got to swear you guys in. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give relative to the matter now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under pains of penalties of perjury? I do. Okay. And when you guys talking to the mic, can you speak your name first? And you want to tell us about your project? Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Prossi, and this is Craig Kowalski, and we've been renovating Blue Duck Deli since I think August of 2022. Once we got hit with the flood, we were left with a decision on how to move forward. So we kind of planned everything based on what would be the most resilient for future floods, as well as what's going to look the best for the area and the historical area there. So what we've decided to do is we did have to demolish the barn structure. We've opted to hopefully turn that into a covered seating area so we can have some nice riverside seating, and that's pretty much the gist of our project.
Okay. Questions from the board?
How much longer you got before it's ready?
We're trying. Right now we're hoping around mid-May is what we're aiming for at the moment to actually open the business, but the construction of the covered patio wouldn't take place till after that, probably sometime over the summer.
So just so that, since we're an on the record DRB, we did have a site visit. Can you just outline the reference of the patio to where it was in the old barn?
Yeah, so the patio takes up the exact footprint of the old barn. It doesn't go further than that in any direction. Inside of the old barn is the first floor addition, which was underneath the roof of the original barn. So we've put that on a solid foundation as well. But the outline of the footprint is identical to the original structure.
Is there going to be any new exterior lighting?
In terms of exterior lighting underneath the seating area, we'll probably have some sort of lighting, just for the seating area, but there's not going to be any new lighting for the parking area or anything.
Tell us about any electrical repairs and whether or not that's all above BFE.
So our electrical repairs, we were very fortunate on the electrical side of things. We didn't have much damage there. Our meter panel was attached to the original structure. So since we demolished the original structure, we've moved the meter panel to the other side of the building, and that is well above BFE. I think we've got a 6.5 foot,
Yeah,
I believe.
and I know that today we did provide you the comment letter from the Agency of Department of Environmental Conservation, A&R, from Ned Stromberg. Did you see any of those conditions that he laid forth in that letter that concerns you, or were all those okay with you?
No, everything seemed to be fine. Let me just pick that letter up.
We do have all your to serve letters, and those have no restrictions as well.
Okay, thank you.
Does the board have any other questions? Jared, any comments? Okay. I make a motion that we close the. Is there someone from the public that wanted to speak on this
He
one?
was signed in, I remember.
Did you get sworn in for this hearing?
I heard
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Probably do have a.
Glenn Heidsmith, 112 Route 103 South. As part of the ongoing renovation of businesses along the Black River, from the mill to this building to the bar under the mill, I think that I would urge the board to positively consider this application because it's a good thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a quick question. I did bring it up with you at the site visit. I was wondering about the safety of your patrons while on the patio dining, and the proximity to the parking lot, and if there would be any sort of deterrent from keeping vehicles from going too far.
Yeah, so the actual patio is raised up above the grade of the parking lot a little bit, the edge of the foundation. It was difficult to see today with the snow. We will have a small ramp that will allow ADA access onto the patio. And then in terms of traffic deterrence from people, potentially driving too close to the building, we do plan on putting large, heavy-duty planters out in the area. So it's not going to be an eyesore, but it will protect the public as well.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. I make a motion that we close the hearing for the Keelan Group LLC. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone who's come in since the beginning of the meeting, if you can come up and add your name to the list, thank you very much.
Just another question. It's just the opposite, keeping people from jumping in the river or something like that, on the patio.
Okay, next we're going to open a public hearing for Jerry and Heather Tucker. Go ahead, Jared.
This is application SUB 24-002. The applicants are Jerry and Heather Tucker. Property owners are the same. The project description is, application is to subdivide a single lot into two separate lots. Hearing date today, February 12th, 2024, 6 p.m. Public posting was at the town clerk's office, town hall bulletin boards, post office, and town website on January 24th, 2024, in the Vermont Journal on January 24th, 2024. The abutting property owners were notified on February 1st, 2024. That's it.
Thank you, Jared. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of this case tonight? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give relative to the matter now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury? Okay, thank you. Step to the mic and say your name first and tell us about your project.
Heather Tucker. It's merely to subdivide our property to have another piece for future building site for family.
Any questions from the board?
Both properties that they use the same driveway.
No. The new subdivided property will have a new driveway.
We just get on the record, George, the size of the lots.
Yeah, so just to read for the record, we've got lot 1 will be 3.75 acres, and Lot 2 will be 6.26 acres. We do have your ability to serve letters, and their restrictions basically, are you familiar with those? Are you okay with those? Any complaints? Okay. Basically, those said that if a structure would be to be built in the future, that it has to follow has an egress window, fire extinguishers, and there needs to be a new 911 address for the new property.
Yep.
Any questions from the board? All second. Discussion. Do you have any comments, Jared? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to open a new public hearing for Jewel Brook LLC. Go ahead, Jared.
The application is SUB 24-001. Property owner is Jewel Brook LLC. The applicants are Lawrence Slayson of Salmon and Ostrom Law Office. The application is to subdivide one 2.2 acre lot into 4 lots. Hearing date today, February 12, 2024, 6 p.m. Public postings were in the town clerk's office, town hall bulletin boards, post office, and town website on January 24th, 2024. And in the newspaper, Vermont Journal, on January 24th, 2024. And the abutting property owners were notified on February 1st, 2024. George?
Thank you, Jared. Anyone here is here to speak about this hearing, I'll swear you in. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
There might be some people on the side of them that we need to see.
Okay. And if anyone's on Zoom, please raise your right hand as well. We'll swear you in. And repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give relative to the matter now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury? I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay. Tell us about your subdivision plans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's our second time before you. As the board's aware, we failed to file the final plat within 6 months, so we're back before you on the resubmittal. But during that period of time, we were able to secure a surveyed final plat, which we're submitting in connection with your sketch plan review tonight. And it's our hope that you'll find the plan not only meets sketch plan approval, but also meets all the requirements for final plat approval under your subdivision regulations. I have the pleasure to be with tonight Serenity Wolf. She's our project engineer with Stevens and Associates. I'm going to bring the microphone, if I may, closer to Serenity.
Go ahead.
And then she can walk through the subdivision with you.
Thank you.
The existing parcel is located on the intersection of Parker and Route 100. The proposal is to subdivide it into 4 lots that would be used for multifamily housing. The lots meet the setback requirements of a side yard setback of 8 feet, a rear yard setback of 15 feet, and a front yard setback of 10 feet. And then the minimum lot size has been calculated to accommodate proposed units, but I know that's not what we're talking about tonight.
Questions from the board?
Can you break down the 4 lots and the size of this lot?
Sure. So the lot 1 is 0.41 acres. Lot 2 is 0.55 acres. Lot 3 is 0.53 acres, and lot 4 is 0.72 acres.
Any other questions from the board? John? Just the subdivision, yep. Jared, any comments for you? Sure. Is there any comments from the public? I know there's a bunch of hands. Sure, go ahead with you first. If you want to just bring the microphone back.
There's 4 lots proposed.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Sure. Lot 1 is 0.41 acres. Lot 2 is 0.55 acres. Lot 3 is 0.53 acres. And Lot 4 is 0.72 acres.
Go ahead. So this is just this is just a discussion on the subdivision. This is about no development. Other questions?
You can come.
This is only about the subdivision and about the sketch plan regarding that subdivision. So no, so this only draws lines on a piece of paper that would then be corresponding into what is now 1 lot. They're proposing into 4 lots. That is correct. Is there someone on Zoom there that wanted to make a comment that was sworn in? Okay. Any other public comments? Questions from the board? Okay. I make a motion that we close the hearing for Jewel Brook LLC.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to open a recessed public hearing for the Mill Condominiums Owner Association. If you were previously sworn in, you are still sworn in for this hearing. Is there anyone who was not previously sworn in that needs to be sworn in for this? Please repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give relative to the matter now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury? Okay. And I know they've got a couple gentlemen here from the Mill Condos Association if you want to talk to us about an update. We did have a site visit with you today.
You did?
So we're going to kind of rehash everything that went through that if you kind of want to give us an update of where you're at.
Okay. So we were cited, I believe, on December 15th. We received that citation on the 19th, and we've been trying to respond since with the information requested in the citation and by the Office of Planning and Zoning. And to my knowledge, we have, as of last week, I think on Wednesday, we didn't make the deadline for this, but we tried. We've submitted all the information that was requested. We submitted a flood cert, memorandum about our rear deck repair, and we're hoping that you'll consider our permit requests for the rear deck, as well as the recovery work from the flood. And we understand that the Planning and Zoning is looking for some information from the state flood office, and that income, we don't have that information just yet. But what would be super helpful is at the last DRB meeting, you asked us to stop work, and we did.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
We prior to that, we were sort of working under an informal agreement, if you will, to proceed with recovery work while the permitting was in place. We would respectfully ask that you consider allowing us to get back to work. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. It's time consuming, and we'd love to get back to it.
So we'll touch on that portion first. So the main reason that last meeting it was brought up was that good faith when you first came forth. We were expecting a slightly faster progress in regards to the permitting process on your behalf of providing the documentation that was required. And that is why that violation was issued, because we're almost getting the equivalent of radio silence seen from this board's perspective. We do appreciate the hard work that you have put forth. On the site visit today, we did see all the BFE markings. And probably the big portion of that I'd like to talk about tonight would be, you'd mentioned your plan of how, you said it's not feasible to move the electrical above BFE, but I'd like to hear about the plan of how that's going to be solved. You talked about waterproofing the facility.
Well, one of the citations was related to the rear deck work, and the rear deck work is a temporary plan to secure the deck so that it's safe. Right now, we have a condition that is absolutely not safe. We have an engineer. We provided you a copy of the letter from the engineer, informing us that it wasn't safe back in June. And we believe that, as you stated, it is much more feasible to try to make our building, we think, waterproof than it is to make it water tolerable, mainly because of the electrical components in the basement and the businesses, and also systems for the building, heat, and some other systems. So what we'd like to do is basically commit on the record to plan for floodproofing in conjunction with planning for rebuilding the decks. We believe that there's overlap between the two. A floodproofing plan would likely influence where the decks would go, and you wouldn't want to have to rebuild the decks and then modify them for the floodproofing plan. So we want to get all that planning done all in the same time period, and that would be over the next 24 months. The planning would be completed before the next 24 months.
One other thing that I just wanted to touch on was, I believe the name Kyle how'd you say his name? Medash, sorry, is one of the two gentlemen who's going to be taking over for where John Broker Campbell left off.
Mm-hmm.
And he's planning a site inspection,
Okay.
and then he will provide that letter.
Okay.
So that ties into their answers. To pair up with that, because of materials that are below BFE, we need a plan in place in order to force to provide a permit. Because if we provide a permit without a plan in place of some sort, that kind of puts us at risk. That's against the FEMA regulations.
A permit to rebuild the deck or a permit to repair the deck?
So, a couple issues. So, let's talk about the flood repairs portion of that.
Yep.
The repairs of the deck for the emergency repair side, we'll tackle that in a second.
Okay.
So like the electrical being below BFE without it being floodproof is against regulation. Correct? As it sits today, right? There's electrical panels and utilities that are below BFE, and the building is not waterproof.
That is true. The building is not waterproofed, and we have electrical components that are below BFE for sure.
And so, in the eyes of FEMA, as we discussed kind of in our site visit, that state electrical regs and the FEMA regs don't necessarily make sense together. But unfortunately, that brings us forth into losing the town's protection and the NFIP program. And so that's the conundrum of that portion of the plan.
Are we required to be in full compliance with all FEMA regulations today? There's no grandfathering in of any of this?
So we would like to see some sort of plan. As you've talked about, you're willing to bring forth a plan, and we'd like to see that plan in regards to that portion.
Would a memorandum of understanding with the town attorney be effective?
I'd gladly talk with the town attorney, and maybe we can come forth with something like that.
I have spoken to him about that.
Yep.
And he thought that was a good idea to resolve this. We would have expected him to draft that. If you want us to draft that, we
Nope,
can.
that's fine. I'll talk with him about that. I just want to make sure we're putting that on the record, that would be some sort of plan, and that memorandum would probably fill that void.
Okay,
But I want to take his counsel on that and
Yep.
make sure that you're okay with that.
absolutely,
Understanding that that would have set forth deadlines, obviously, with expectations.
absolutely. I mean, we would appreciate, so the 24-month, the reason I say the 24-month is because we have a deck repair plan, and the engineer states very clearly on the plan, in the plan that he wrote, it had to be done by 2026, because he figured that we would, I'm sorry, 2025, because he thought we would be starting on the deck repairs last summer
Yeah.
and have them completed last summer, and that didn't happen because of the flood. But it was always in his mind that the repairs would be good for about 24 months.
Okay.
So we're thinking roughly 24 months after they're completed. That's kind of the life of the repairs.
Okay.
We have an engineer's letter that says, after that, our deck is not safe. Injury and life, risk to life
Yeah.
is there. So for us, that 24-month deadline is very real. It's having nothing to do with the DRB, having everything to do with, safety of our owners. We got to get it done.
I appreciate that.
So, yeah, absolutely, we would be willing to,
What's the board's opinion on letting them continue their emergency repairs of the deck?
I would be for it.
I think for safety.
Okay, so board's consensus that that's okay to continue repairs. We
Thank you.
appreciate all the hard work that you put in.
Thank you.
In the future, you guys did own up to the mistakes you made, and we appreciate that, and we appreciate the hard work.
Thank you.
I know Jared is going to be working with Kyle to set up that site visit, and he'll probably be in contact with you shortly, once that gentleman sets forth what days he's potentially open to come forth. And he can then provide that letter of his recommendations. Is there any other questions that you have for me tonight?
You mentioned, and then you voted that we could begin, or we could get back to work on the repairs of the rear deck.
Yep.
Can we get back to work in the basement, mostly in the bar and the office space?
What's the board's thoughts?
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem. We're gonna get that, the letter from the town attorney. How long do you think that would take?
Yeah, so I don't expect that that'd be available till next month.
Yeah, I mean, that's good, Don.
No problem. I'm ready for them to get back to work.
Okay, we're good for you to get back to work. We appreciate the work that you put forth.
Thank you.
I know that the last meeting and this meeting were very short, time in between. And with the deadlines for the paperwork, that was a challenge to try to get that in together. And that didn't make it into our packets, but you did give us a very thorough presentation today. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Does any other comments, questions from the board?
None.
Okay. Any public comments? Okay. I make a motion that we recess the Mill Condominiums Owner Association until next month's meeting.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Next, we're going to open a recessed public hearing for Shaw's Supermarket. Anyone who was previously sworn into this hearing is still sworn in, but is there anyone who needs to be sworn in that was not previously sworn in that was here to do? Okay. I believe we've got a couple gentlemen on Zoom. If you guys want to give us an update on your progress.
Nick, do you want to give them an update?
I can do that for the floodproofing portion first.
Yeah, I think as far as permitting,
I spoke to Jared, and we put in for the permit to start the Doug area. I spoke to Ben Whalen today, the fire marshal, and going to send him a drawing, and he's going to get back to me tomorrow, which I can get back to Jared on, and it sounds like we'll be able to move forward with the Doug portion of it. And then as far as the contract drawings, I told them we would mail those out, Nick, as you and I talked, and get the town set. And then, Jared, we just wanted to ask how many sets again? You had mentioned maybe 8 for the board members.
That's correct.
And would it be acceptable to do half sets, or do you want full sets?
We'd like full sets for each board member, so
Okay.
they can bring home and review those, if that's possible.
It is. I'm assembling this set right now, actually. It's a pretty big set. It's a very thorough remodel. The sheet sizes are pretty big. They're 36 by 48. Can I print them half size so that they're more manageable? They're still legible at that size, but you don't need a huge table to review them. Would that be all right?
That's okay. The key is legibility. That's really the main concern. So as long as they're still legible, we're okay with that.
They are. I mean, I have to put my glasses on to read them, but I can read them. So Billy, the email you sent me, so I can send 8 sets for each board member. Jared, did you want a separate set on top of that?
One of the 8 is for the zoning department.
Okay, so that's included in
Thank
the
you,
8.
thank you, though.
Okay. And then is the set for the fire marshal also part of that 8, or should that be a separate full-size set?
That's a separate set for
Okay.
Ben. Yeah.
All right, perfect. All right, I'll have those printed up and sent out. You should have them by the end of the week.
So,
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the plan is we'll send those out, and then I talked to Ben, and I'd talk to him in another week or so to see where he is with his review.
Awesome. Great to hear that.
And then,
Any other updates?
Yeah, I think Nick can update everybody on the flood mitigation and how he's progressed with that.
Yeah, we've made good progress on the planning and design for the flood mitigation portion of the project. Can I share my screen to go over a couple graphics?
Sure.
Okay.
Just hang on one second.
Okay.
Okay, you're all set. Thank you.
Okay.
You can share your screen.
All right, thank you. Again, I'm Nicholas Nitschke from Scott Griffin Architects. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. Can you see the sheet that has the floor plan and the photo of the building?
Yes, thank you.
Great, great. So last month we were at the stage in the floodproofing portion of the project where we were identifying the potential vulnerabilities around the building and researching different design solutions for what would provide passive protection, flood protection wherever possible, and where not possible would be an easily deployable and rapidly deployable flood-proofing measure. Now we're at the stage where a lot of those decisions on which way to go have been made, and we're refining the design concepts and doing product research. I have examples, more specifics than what we had last month into what we're thinking. So again, this is the project, the floor plan. The goal is to have 360-degree flood protection for the building, all sides of the building, and all vulnerable parts of it covered. One of the biggest parts of it is the reinforcing and flood-proof coating application around the concrete masonry block portions of the building outlined in orange, which is the size and the rear of the building. We have product specs on the types of paint that are designed for this purpose to resist the force of the floodwaters through the wall construction. That, along with the reinforcing of the wall to make sure that there's no structural failure. That's the key to protecting around those portions of the building. All of the egress doors, they they'll be replaced with, the jambs will be reinforced as necessary, and the doors themselves will be replaced with they simply call them flood doors, and they're egress doors that are ADA compliant with hardware, and the threshold is ADA compliant, and they're designed specifically as flood barriers, as doors. So they'll operate under egress conditions and daily use conditions for the tenants, but will also resist the flood waters. So that's happening around the back of the building. There are a couple conditions in the building here in the front left corner and also at the back of the building where there's an exterior freezer box, where we're proposing to install it's a concrete, cast in place concrete stem wall or a flood stem wall that's built in front of the existing wall that goes up to our designed flood elevation. And that simply acts as a monolithic barrier between the floodwaters and the existing wall construction. This won't require us to disassemble and rebuild the existing wall, and it'll give us a nice monolithic protection for these two particularly vulnerable areas of the building. At the loading dock doors, these were particularly challenging given the frequency of use, the fact that the tractor trailers are backing up into them. The parts of this building can take a lot of damage. So in this location, we're proposing this particular product is called Hydro Defense. It's a plank that gets inserted in a track. The track is permanently affixed to the inside of the building. The planks are stored locally, right next to the opening, in a container or some other cabinet that keeps them safe. And in the event of a flood, this type of situation can be installed by 1 or 2 people in 5 to 10 minutes per each opening. So for the 3 loading dock doors at the back, we're proposing this solution to both keep the store functional as long as possible, and also provide rapid deployable mitigation measure. Across the front of the store where we have the large storefront windows, similar to what we're doing in the corner of the building by building a flood wall in front of it, it's a similar concept where we're raising the actual storefront. We're getting shorter storefront and raising up the sill and building a flood wall in front of the existing wall construction. And the renderings at the bottom, they might be a little small, but the idea is that it'll have somewhat minimal impact on the design of the facade itself. The wall itself, we can paint it or we can clad it with a nice architectural finish that even when wet will hold up. And in the end, we preserve as much of that daylight as possible and without sacrificing too much of that design while still providing adequate flood protection. Now across the left side of the building where there is a covered walkway with 3 other tenants next to us, this is probably the most challenging part. And the method that we are proposing is to build a freestanding flood wall out at the edge of the canopy, at the edge of the sidewalk, that will be similarly clad or painted to have a nice finish on it. But this freestanding wall will provide this barrier from the floodwaters getting anywhere near the front facade of the building. This is the part of the building that has a brick veneer with wood studs back up. It'd be extremely complicated to modify that actual wall construction along with all the windows and doors that lead into that to make that wall itself flood-proof. So this kind of encapsulation of this sidewalk area that would have doors on it that would provide access through it. This is the most kind of foolproof method that we came up with during our research and everything for this portion of the building. And again, this rendering just kind of shows what it looks like. The idea would be to have it kind of match the rest of the building. as best we can. Now, the doors themselves are a sliding panel that stays right next to the opening. It slides in the open position, and that's where it'll be most of the time. With potential floodwaters, there's I don't know if you can see in much detail, but there's a hinged cover that covers the bottom track where the gate actually slides on. And so when that's closed, when that flap is closed, it provides smooth ADA accessible access to and from the building, which is extremely important for us with the shopping carts, carriages, all the different things that go in and out of a supermarket all day long. So this provides unobstructed access to the building from the parking lot. But when the gates need to be deployed, this hinged panel swings up out of the way, and then the door slides into place. And then there's these mechanisms that tighten it like a compression fitting at the openings. So there's nothing to be brought in from off-site. 1 or 2 people can do this, again, in 5 to 10 minutes per gate, with the anticipation of flooding. So this would happen three places across the front, the 2 main entrances to the Shaws, and potentially one more, at least one more, if not 2, over where the other tenants' main entrances are to get them good access. Then there's one more condition on the right-hand side of the building where the bank's drive-through window is. They've got a couple windows that we're again proposing to raise the sill simply to get it above the floodplain elevation, to provide passive protection there. But where the bank teller window is, that has to be down to a particular elevation so that it's accessible by cars pulling up and using it. We don't want to interfere with that functionality. So similar to the loading dock doors, we're proposing a channel installed around the opening that can accept a panel that slides into that opening to provide the protection up to that flood elevation that we're going for. That panel, ideally, and this is what we're working on, will be stored locally right next to the opening or someplace very nearby so that anyone, even if the bank's closed, can secure that opening when necessary. So that's kind of a quick overview of the overall design concepts, the solutions for the different parts of the building that we're proceeding with. Our goal, if there's no questions or concerns or objections, our goal from this point forward would be to start developing the construction drawings, the working drawings, the details packaged into a set that will allow the contractor to fully build all of these floodproofing mitigations. And we hope to have that ready for your review by the next meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. Any questions from the board?
Yes, when you're talking about those, where the loading docks were, that people would do that, would be the employees would learn those?
Yeah, so a part of this whole, part of making this whole thing work is an emergency preparedness plan that will be developed with us for Shaw's and their employees. And this would be training for, different managers, assistant managers, really anyone. The idea is to make it as easy as possible for anyone. And there would be an emergency plan in place that would instruct anyone there that happens to be there when these measures need to be executed. There would be this plan, and that would outline what has to happen. So it would say, go to loading dock, here's your panels, put them into place, this is how you do it. They would perform training so that people could actually do it, see what it feels like to have it done. And that along with routine maintenance of the actual components like the panels, the sliding doors, the track, maintenance on that is going to be an ongoing thing too. So that's a program that Shaw's will have in place so that this solution withstands the test of time and can perform in 5 years or 10 years or however many years until the next flood.
Any other questions from the board? Questions for citizens? I believe you were sworn in last time, Glenn? Okay, thanks.
Glen Heights, Smith, 112 Route 103 South. You guys didn't go over the minutes yet, but a number of items were mentioned last meeting about this, and I just wanted to address that because there was a little bit of, I guess, not disagreement, but it was a little uncertainty on when this project is going to finish up. And I'm reading from the unapproved minutes. Item 7, subsection 2. He hopes to open up to the community before July 4th and a grand reopening around June 28th. So I guess I'm just asking as a member of the public for the applicant to clarify, is that exact, is that what they're shooting for? Because there was some disagreement, I believe, within the community over when this gets wrapped up. But more importantly, I think, since the flood on December 18th this year happened on frozen ground, I think it would be good to make sure that this applicant is producing a weatherproof product that operates with flaps and sliding doors when the ground is frozen. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Do you have any responses to his questions?
Regarding the timeline, all I can say is that the dates that you listed are they're the goals that the last I heard is what we were all shooting for, having the store open by that time, early July. Billy, I don't know if you've heard anything more, but that's kind of been the goal of kind of doing the projects in tandem, doing the fit up drawings, and then while also doing the floodproofing kind of at the same time in tandem so that the designs are complete and construction is happening so that everything finishes up for that early July, late June timeline.
Yeah, I mean, I think on behalf of Shaw's, I think they would like to open sooner. But like Nick said, that is the timeline right now. But we would like to open up sooner than that if possible, but it really depends.
And just as one consideration, Glenn did bring up a good comment. We'd like to hear about how the protection will differ in regards to snow, ice, and those potential considerations, as we did have a storm when the ground was frozen. So just as a consideration for your planning.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. That's something I'll work through with the vendors for the products that we're researching and planning on using, knowing, they need to know that we're up here and that is a condition. I think another part of that also is for the maintenance plan that Shaw's is going to have in place. Just like they have in place a plan to clear the sidewalks, clear the drive aisles when it snows, make sure it's not icy, make sure it's not slippery. That same sort of attention and kind of routine maintenance is applicable for the things like the sliding doors to make sure that they do function when the time comes. So I appreciate that comment.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Is this drive up and go going to be permanent?
It is permanent, and it is an online pickup where you order online and they'll have the spaces in the parking lot, so it will still remain the same.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions from the public? Make a motion that we recess the Shaw's Supermarket hearing till next month.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to open a recessed public hearing for Divided Sky Foundation. Is there someone who's here to speak on their behalf tonight? And if anyone that wishes to speak to this hearing was previously sworn in, you are still sworn in. Anyone who wishes to speak that was not sworn in, I'll swear you in at this time. I don't know if they get somebody on there. Okay. Just as a note for on the record, the last piece that we were looking for was a Division of Fire and Safety letter, which we did receive with some conditions. You guys have, from the board, have any questions on those?
No, I don't.
I don't have any.
Any public comments? I make a motion that we close the hearing for Divided Sky Foundation. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next, we're going to open a recessed public hearing for Del Tufo Real Estate, 80 Brew. Anyone who is here to speak on behalf of this hearing that was previously sworn in, you are still sworn in. Anyone who is new to this hearing that wishes to speak, I will swear you in now. Okay. Repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give relative to the matter now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury? I do. Okay. Tell us an update about your project.
Sure. First, thank you for letting us get back to work. And second, I believe now with the base flood elevation certificate in, you guys should have everything you need from us to acquire the permit. The only question I have is, I'm not sure of the mill's timeline for getting their permit all taken care of. And if we're at the point where we're finished building, we're still attached to their permit. If they don't have it yet, would we be able to open?
So just because they're two separate hearings right now, we'll kind of rehash what was said
Right.
before for on the record.
Right.
So the mill is going to proceed forth to a memorandum of understanding.
Right.
And so pending that approval,
Yeah.
that will suffice for those restrictions.
Okay.
And that will obviously affect your unit as well as other units that are in that facility. And that is really the next step for that answer.
Okay.
In your units, when we went through the site visit today, we can see the BFE marks.
Yep.
And so really that is the answer of how to, that electrical and mechanical issue
Sure.
within each unit is going to come under compliance.
Okay.
But that is going to be handled on their behalf. That information
Sure.
will then come forth into your hearing.
Understood.
Does the board have any questions for this year? Any public comments on this one? Go ahead.
Hi. Wendy Wachtel, owner of number 204. My husband and I am speaking on behalf of several other owners. So I have a packet of information for the board. You could not find on the website where to submit it or dates or phone number.
Is that one copy?
I have 7 copies.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll take it. Thank you.
And apologies on the different size clips. The stapler actually broke, so some of you have a real paper clip and some have big office clips. I'm just going to give a brief overview of the cover letter that I've attached here. So the purpose of our submission is to inform the DRB of the steps taken and the willingness of the owners of the adjacent units to 80 Brew to work out a reasonable solution to the noise created by their business operating hours. No ill will at all. To date, the Mill Homeowners Association has hired RSG Engineering, an acoustical engineering firm, and they've spent well over $10,000 in researching impartial recommendations and product recommendations to make all parties happy. So there was an initial proposal and recommendation put forth at the cost of $92,000. That's important because the homeowners and the Mill Association are picking up close to, if not at least 5/6 of the cost of this project. So in essence, we're taking money out of our pockets and businesses and putting it into theirs so we all can live harmoniously together.
I'm sorry, George, I'm confused on, what the amount was.
92,000 was
And
the
then
original.
you said your part was 5.6. I don't know what that means.
Well,
I'm
that
sorry.
means that means the homeowners that are in the adjacent units and the mill HOA, not counting the money they've already spent, are pretty much footing the bill for 5/6 of this solution. So Del Tufos would have a portion they'd be responsible for, but we're taking money out of our own pockets and businesses to pay the rest so we can all move forward happily. Why this is important is that there was more research done after this initial study, and a solution with a cost tag of $42,000 for an entire solution has been discovered. And that, at the time of that research, there was consultation with RSG Sound Acoustical Engineering. They felt that that was a viable solution. There have been some concerns from the Del Tufos, understandably so, and they're protecting their business. So that mill HOA has retained, once again, RSG Engineering to do further studies on this particular solution and the products. We do not have those results yet. This is the most recent of, I think, maybe 3 projects they've hired them for. So in your packets.
But before you go too far, so when do you expect the results of this study?
RSG.
Well, the only thing that's left is to evaluate different ceiling tiles for how much. Can you hear me? If you want to, I'll stand up.
Yep.
To evaluate different ceiling tiles for their effectiveness, and we have put that on hold because the bar has said they don't want any ceiling tiles. So we said, well, we're not going to pay the engineer to evaluate ceiling tiles if that's not going to happen. We've already put out financially. So that's, we're at a standstill on ceiling tiles.
Okay.
It's a small project that the engineer said he could get it. It's a couple of hours. He could do it on short notice.
Okay.
Once we get the okay that we're going to, that everybody agrees that's what we're going to do, we'll pay him to evaluate the ceiling tiles.
Okay. I spoke with Isaac
I'm sorry.
a few days ago, and I was not brought up. I think the last call was they were moving forward or considering it.
Yeah. We
Okay.
put them on hold because we didn't want to pay money to have to work on something that was never going to happen. That's all.
The HOA's put out well over, like I mentioned, and you'll see it in the
So
package.
I just have another question for you. So the homeowners association, what does that comprise of? Is Edo Brew not a part of the homeowners association?
They are part of the.
So they are part of the association.
Mhm.
Okay, so when you say that 5/6 is being picked up by the homeowners association, part of, I'm trying to understand.
It's not the homeowners association. So in the, I just didn't want to read the entire cover letter.
No, you can just
The owners of
summarize.
units 202, 204, 203, 205, 206 are all personally paying for this, as well as the HOA has said that they may consider paying for a portion of this.
Okay, so I'll just stand by one second. So I just don't understand. You're saying that all those unit owners, as well as the association, is covering 5/6 of it,
Mhm.
and then, so everybody's splitting, is that what you're saying?
Okay.
6 parties.
You can go ahead and finish.
Okay. So we basically assert that RSG engineers, or sound engineer, is the only one who's qualified to speak to the noise mitigation or the effectiveness of any solution. So in your package, you'll find the sound study commissioned by the mill owners HOA, dated May 3rd of 2023. We've been working on this project a long time, way before the floods occurred. And we just want to bring the board up to speed on the efforts we've made in the last year or so to find a solution to this. This is not a new issue. You'll also find a history of events of the mill owners' actions from the very beginning, as well as the most recent and cost-effective sound mitigation solution handout for that $42,000 solution. What we can do, since this is all being given to you and submitted this evening, is we can have that sound engineer available at the next meeting via Zoom if you'd like for question and answers, and he can speak to whatever questions you may have of a technical nature.
Being that this packet's pretty large, I think the DRB can make that decision once we've reviewed it, and we'll have Jared let you know.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Any other questions, comments? Board have anything else?
There's somebody on the
Oh,
audience.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm Patrick Ross, own a couple businesses in town, Tiger Mountain Sports, Tiger Trading Post. And I just wanted to, personal friends of the Del Tufos, but as a business owner in town, since the flooding and the lack of amenities or businesses, restaurants that have been closed due to the flooding, the sooner we can get businesses open and running, the better. We have had, we lost about 20% of our yearly revenue due to the flooding and subsequent loss of revenue due to, let's say, we had no tourist season basically. So we're still getting people in our stores that are, viewing Ludlow as damaged. They're worried about coming out. We don't have a grocery store. We have much fewer bars, restaurants to frequent. And we're seeing that, and every business in town is seeing that. I just wanted to kind of give a voice to that, to the other business owners in town, that the sooner that we can get these guys in places like that and Mojo, et cetera, moving, I think the better for the town it would be.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks.
Board have anything else?
Yes. I'd just like to remind you that if there is a memorandum that our acting floodplain manager should have contributed by then, the application. So that's got to be a prerequisite to the memorandum if there is one.
Yep. We'll take that into consideration. I make a motion that we recess the public hearing for Del Tufo Real Estate until next month.
I'll second.
Hold on, let's get the motion on the table and you can talk.
Seconded, so discussion?
Yeah, so is it being recessed because of the information put in front of you?
No, we're waiting on the memorandum of understanding that handles the electrical and mechanicals. That handles, unfortunately, your building being how it is, goes hand in hand with the HOA's responsibilities. And as the whole building is as part of that, falls into that jurisdiction. It's going to take some time for me to even read this document. I believe this is similar to the studies that had been previously submitted. Maybe not, I haven't read it, I don't know. So.
Do you want to address, so that there's some conversation about you not wanting to add some?
We've never said we're not willing to do the ceiling tiles. It's something obviously we don't want to do, especially not the ones that were recommended. The ones that we've talked about working in our space are much more expensive. They have a different finish. Usually when you come into like a school or a gymnasium, there's the white, speckled ceiling tiles, and it's not really a look that we want. So we're trying to avoid doing that.
Ed, you want to comment? Yeah, sorry, you're gonna have to step up to the microphone. See if we can figure this out.
And that's what the study's currently doing, is checking the effectiveness of painting them to the color and making them aesthetically as in whatever fashion that they would like as far as color and paint. And you'll see this in the handout that we're willing to do that work for them and pay for it. That's what the additional study would cover, is the ceiling tile effectiveness of adding paint. And you'll see in the handout, it states that they were misinformed as to the effectiveness of adding paint to those tiles, but that has become a sticking point. Actually, there are currently ceiling tiles dropped down in their space, just not all of it, but we're willing to have them visually modified in whatever fashion needed to make them happy with that.
The other thing is, you had said originally there was something came in, a proposal that was maybe $90,000.
$92,000.
And then since then you found out there's a solution for $42,000?
Correct.
So when it was at $90,000, you were prepared to pay 5/6 of that? Is that what I'm hearing?
When
you
the
say?
$92,000 proposal came up, we then spoke about doing half and seeing if that would work, but that still didn't give us an STR rating that would give us enough improvement and to spend, all of us to spend $42,000 or $46,000 without having an acceptable solution, and then without having anything in writing that we would even continue further. That was a foolish move on anyone's part.
Thank you very much.
The last thing I'm going to say on this is I've always felt that this has been an internal issue, something that should be handled internally at the mill. And then the packet that we gave you does show that we don't fall into the town ordinance. I know they've mentioned loud repetitive noises, but we're not allowed according to the STC, I mean the decibel levels on the
in the village zone.
in the village, yeah.
Yep.
So
Thank you for your comments. So back to the motion that was seconded. Any further discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to open a recessed public hearing for Eric Alden. Anyone who wishes to speak to this hearing that was previously sworn in, you are still sworn in. Anyone that wishes to speak that was not sworn in, I'll swear you in at this time. Tell us an update on your project.
Good evening. Eric Alden, Chelsea Road. This sort of ties into the previous hearing with the mill. At the last hearing, the board requested information that the mill proved responsibility for the expenses. I believe all those documents have been submitted. So I'm not sure where you're going to go with this, with this hearing, but we've done everything that has been requested on our part. This permit appears to be tied to the main mill permit.
Yep, so we'll repeat it just for being on the record, that it will fall under the same conditions as the HOA and the other permits that fall within that building. That if everything goes through that memorandum of understanding, that will take care of that portion.
Understood.
Any other questions you have for us tonight?
No, thank you.
Questions or anything from the board? I make a motion that we recess this hearing until next month.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next on the docket is we've got minutes.
I have my red pen now, so I have some authority. You just gave me a red pen, which is better.
Okay, Julie, good.
On November 13th, I just wanted to mention, and it's not a criticism, if we could just have the secretary just put the who seconds it, the seconds. Sure. And that's all. Because sometimes it says, it said that George made a motion and he seconded it. And I think that you didn't second your own motion, which is okay. It's not a big deal.
I did do a better job.
Yes,
A lot
I did
better,
note that.
a lot better. These are just the old ones, and we didn't get to do them last time.
Thank you.
What did I have one more thing in here? Oh, just the, and it's a lot better now, but like on page, oops, this isn't page. The third page in, if you go 3 pages in, a lot of times that we had written, Alan states this, Alan states that. And maybe more clarified.
Okay.
In the future, just because if it's somebody, there's 3 Allens in the thing, it'd be hard to,
Okay.
that's it,
Yeah.
nothing big at all.
Those changes not too hard to make?
Yes.
Very easy.
Do you want to correct all 3 and then vote on all 3? Do you want to go one by one, Julie? What's easier for you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's to you.
I'm okay with this as corrected.
Okay.
Because she just can correct those little, just who seconded it,
Yep.
just for the file.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the corrected minutes for November 13th.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on those minutes? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next, we're on to the December 18th meeting.
I have nothing till page 8, but does anybody have anything before that?
Page 8, you said?
Yes, on number 4, I just want to take out the word said. I know these were done under Leisha.
Yep.
But it says George Tucker Jr. said referred.
Okay.
Just take out the word said because it sounds weird.
Okay.
And then I think the second line should be portion instead of potion. Unless you had a
Yep,
potion.
okay. Yep, okay.
I don't think I had anything else on there. Hold on, let me just check.
Okay.
I did them all. Nope, I had nothing else.
I make a motion that we accept the corrected minutes for December 18th.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then we've got minutes from January 22nd.
Okay, and the third page in, if you just can go to 3/4 of the way down in the highlighted motion.
Yep.
That's just want to change it. It says George made motions to reset, George
Okay.
seconds. And I know you didn't
Yeah,
second your own thing.
Yeah, you can't. say-
So I don't know who did, but if we can just find that,
I seconded, I think.
Okay.
if we can just correct that, I'm okay with that, just. So it makes sense.
Okay.
And then I don't have anything until, I don't know how to do them because they're not numbered, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, it's okay,
Yeah,
3,
good, thank you.
4, 5, the 6th page in. I think I just had a question on number 15. Who Nichols was.
So there's a so the above.
It says Nicholas, so I think that
It was
15,
Nicholas, it should be.
but I think
wasn't it?
15 and 16 should both say Nicholas instead of Nichols.
Okay,
Just those two, because then it confuses with the other ones in there.
okay,
That's very simple.
okay. What else you got?
I think that's, let me just make sure last page. That's why I just want to know, because, oh, and the last one was the page after, number 6. George thanked her for Wendy's comments. I guess I just don't understand what that sentence meant.
Thanks,
He
Wendy.
thanked Wendy.
Wendy, yeah, so.
Yeah, I guess just for her
Thanks
comments.
Wendy for her comments,
Yeah, I just thought
yes.
that just
Okay.
was confusing.
Okay, yep.
That's it, that's all.
I make a motion that we accept the corrected minutes from January 22nd.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Anything under other business? Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.